Solving higher order polynomials. That's what we're doing this week. Solving those equations that you were factoring the week before. Alright, the quadratic formula is provided for your convenience. You'll see why we need that in a second. Alright. If once you get your exponent as low as 2, you can stop factoring. Well, this one you can't factor anyways, but once you get your exponent as low as 2, you can stop factoring. Okay? Because even if you have a trinomial, you can use the quadratic formula. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to stop factoring. It's just that you may stop factoring. Alright. But this one can't be factored, but it can be solved. So what we're going to do is just isolate the x. To do that, we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. That gives us x squared equals negative 12. And then to get rid of this x squared, get rid of that 2, the exponent of 2, we're going to take the square root of that. So that means we're going to be plus or minus the square root of negative 12. Okay? Now, so here it goes back to the old days when we had to rationalize this, or I'm sorry, to simplify this. Right? So negative 12 is the same thing as negative 1 times 12. And then 12 is 2 times 6. And then 6 is 2 times 3. So negative 12 is the same thing as negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 3. Okay? Alright, so we always want to take out that negative 1 because that negative 1 is equivalent to I when it's under the radical, right? So square root of negative 1 is I. We have a pair of 2's, that's going to come out, and we have a 3 that's left over. So that's going to be plus or minus, a 2 comes out, I, and the 3 stays inside. So this is our final answer. X equals plus or minus 2I root 3. Alright. That's okay. Also reminder, whenever we, remember last week when we asked the question, how many zeros will a function have? And you should look at the highest degree. Highest degree here is 2. So you should expect 2 answers. So plus or minus is actually 2 answers, right? It's positive 2I root 3 and negative 2I root 3. So that's 2 answers. So looking over here at x cubed plus 27 equals 0, I'm expecting 3 answers. Alright, and this is a sum of 2 cubes, so this is going to factor. Also, note that the exponent is higher than 2, so we have to factor this. Alright, so that's going to be x plus 3. So, cube root of x cubed is x, cube root of 27 is 3, right? It's whatever is being raised to the third power. So then it's x squared minus 3x plus 9. That's the pattern that we learned last week. Square that, goes there, multiply those two, and change the sign. So that's 3x, and then square the second term and add it. All right. Okay. We're setting this equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides, and you get x equals negative 3. So that's our first answer. That's one answer. Now, I did note last week that if you have this trinomial, it cannot be factored. That is why we wrote this quadratic formula right there, because you will have to use the quadratic formula. So A is 1, B is negative 3, and C is 9. So we fill that in. So it's the opposite of that, opposite of B, so it's 3 plus or minus the square root, B squared, negative 3 squared. Keep in mind, whenever you use the calculator, you have to put the negative 3 in the parentheses and the exponent of 2 outside the parentheses. Okay, otherwise it will not do it correctly, or it won't do what you think it should do. Minus 4, A is 1, and C is 9. All over 2 times 1. So it's 3 plus or minus square root 9 minus 36 over 2. 3 plus or minus square root of negative 27 over 2. Alright, now what about that negative 27? Well, negative 27 is the same thing as negative 1 times 27. 3 times 9, and 3 times 3. So, I have a pair of 3's and a negative 1. So, the pair of 3's comes out as a 3, and the negative 1 is an I, and I have a 3 left over. That stays in there over 2. Okay, that's it. That's B. So, this is 2 answers, right? The plus or minus makes it 2 answers, and I have the 1 answer over here. So, that takes a total of 3 answers. Let's go on to C. Here we go. So, This is quadratic form. We have an even exponent, and the middle term is half that exponent. We're going to do the big cross here. So 24 on top, and the middle number on the bottom. What are the factors of 24 that combine to make negative 10? That would be negative 6 and negative 4. So that's going to be x squared minus 6, x squared minus 4. Alright. You take half that exponent. That's where that 2 comes from. Right? You take half that exponent. That's how you factor a quadratic form. Take half that leading exponent. Okay. Now you set each factor equal to 0. Now you can keep factoring this if you want to, but you don't have to. This one cannot be factored, so I might as well just do them both the same way. So plus 6, x squared equals 6. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 6. Now square root of 6, 6 is 2 times 3. There are no pairs, so that's done. Right? 2 times 3 cannot be simplified. This one here, x squared equals 4. X equals plus or minus the square root of 4. You should know what the square root of 4 is. It's 2, so it's x equals plus or minus 2. So those are 4 answers, right? Plus or minus root 6, that's 2 answers. And plus or minus 2, that's 2 more. I was expecting 4 answers because of that degree. All right. So yeah, look at D. That's a 6-degree polynomial, so I'm expecting 6 answers. I'm expecting 6 answers. All right, so it is quadratic form. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 times 27 is 216. Yes, you're welcome to use a calculator for that. Okay, and I got to get the middle term of negative 35. Turns out it's negative 27 times negative 8. You might wonder how I got that so quickly. Well, that was the problem here, 27 and 8. It rarely happens this way, but it happened this time. All right, 27 and 8. 27 times 8 gives me the 216. I needed a negative 35, so I just changed their signs. Right. Remember, if they're both negative, it produces a positive product. Negative 27 times negative 8 does give me a positive 26. 216, sorry, not 26. All right, anyways. So, using the Lizzie method, take half that exponent, so it's x cubed, and then it's minus 27 over the leading coefficient, right? This 8 comes from this 8, okay? And then x cubed minus 8 over 8, right? The top 8 is this 8 over here, and the bottom 8 is that leading coefficient again. Simplify this if you can. 27 over 8 cannot be simplified, so I bring the denominator up. 8 over 8 can be simplified. It's 1. And what you have is a difference of 2 cubes twice. Okay, so I'm going to split this up. That's going to be 2x minus 3. So this is coming from what is being cubed to get 8. It's 2 to the third power gives me 8. And what is being cubed to get 27? It's 3 to the third power. Okay, you've got to learn your cubes. I gave you that list. All right. Now, I'm not done with this. So the second part is a trinomial. You square the first term. So that's 4x squared. Change the sign. That's a plus. Multiply those two. So that's 6x. And then plus 9. Right? You square the second term and add it. It's always a plus here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the x cubed minus 1 underneath. So that's going to be x minus 1. Right? What's being cubed? X. What's being cubed? 1. 1 is a perfect anything. Square, cube, whatever. And then I'm continuing with the formula. Square the first term. X squared. Change the sign. Plus. Multiply. 1x is x. Plus. Square the second term. 1. So those are the 4 factors. Right? Remember, the trinomial that comes out of the sum or difference of 2 cubes cannot be factored. But I can use the quadratic formula. And remember, we're setting all these equal to 0. Let's do the 2 easy ones first. Do these 2. So 2x minus 3 equals 0. Plus 3 plus 3. So I got x equals 3 halves. Right? Be careful. I know a lot of people want to do it this way. X minus 1 equals 0 and go, oh, straight into x equals 1. When there is no leading coefficient, that is perfectly fine. But people mess it up when there's leading coefficient. So you might want to do it by hand for several times before you go straight to the answer. Okay? All right. Let's do the quadratic formula for the first trinomial. So remember, it's negative b, so it's negative 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so it's 36, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. Let's clean that up. So it's negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36 minus, what is that? 16 times 9 is 144. So it's 36 minus 144. So that's negative 108. You're allowed to use a calculator. Don't take my word for it. You should check it out yourself. Now the negative 108, that's 12 times 9. So I'm going to do a little scratch work over here. That's going to be negative 1 times 108. 9 times 12. 3 times 3. 6 times 2. 3 times 2. So I got a pair of 3's and a pair of 2's. Okay? So it's going to be negative 6 plus or minus. Oh, I'm running out of space. Pair of 2. Oops. I'm really running out of space because I just made a mistake. Negative 6 plus or minus. Pair of 2's comes out. A 3 comes out. And that negative 1, don't forget the negative 1. I comes out, and I have a 3 left over, all over 8. So that's negative 6 plus or minus 6I root 3 over 8. Okay? Alright, I'm not done with this one. I can reduce this. This becomes negative 3 plus or minus 3I root 3 over 4. Right? There is a common factor of 2 in all those. And I'm run out of space. So I'm going to put this one here for the x squared plus x plus 1. Right? So I need this x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. I'm setting that factor equal to 0 using the quadratic formula. B is 1, so it's negative 1 plus or minus a square root. B is 1 again. 1 squared minus 4. All the other values are 1 over 2 times 1. Right? A is 1, C is 1. So negative 1 plus or minus square root of 1 minus 4 over 2. That's negative 3 over 2. And I have a negative, so it just makes it negative plus or minus I root 3 over 2. Make sure to not leave any negatives inside a radical. And let's go ahead and recap. And what are the answers to example D? We have these two here, these two here, right? And then we had the x equals 1 and x equals 3 halves. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. That's 6 answers for this 6-degree polynomial. And yeah, there won't be a lot of those, but there'll be some of those. Okay? Alright, that's it. Good luck.